Welcome to the Echo Oscar Delta podcast, where we talk to Navy EOD techs and hear the stories that they want to share. All ideas, thoughts, and statements are those of the guest and the host of Echo Oscar Delta, and not of Navy EOD or Navy as a whole. Today I have Mason McCabe. He was a lieutenant in the United States Navy, an EOD officer, did 8 years, and just recently has found freedom.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you coming on. Yeah, I mean, how was your time?
Definitely learned a lot. It was great. You meet a lot of outstanding people and lifelong friends that you would never meet anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
You're definitely in a certain community where only these type of people will be here, right? You'll never meet these kinds of people anywhere else. So yeah. It affords you that opportunity and many, many more. But long, short, I had an outstanding time.
Nice. You did 4 deployments while you were here, and what, 3 of those were EOD, and then 1 was with leading the divers, right?
So 2 were EOD.
2 were EOD. Okay.
1 was leading the divers. 1 was like a humanitarian mission.
Oh, that's right. Nice.
Yes.
Nice. So, well, I guess backing up, what led you to EOD?
Very interesting question. I've been asked this question multiple times throughout my career and when talking to midshipmen. And, you know, they have to have a question for everything because I think they're going to get beat if they don't ask a question. So they're like, oh, what do I ask? What led you here? And I was like, oh, I knew someone was going to ask this question. I was like, okay. So you want the real story or you want the made up one? So because there's 2 different ones.
I think it'd be fun to hear both.
Let's do it. So none of them really made up, but the one that like sounds sexier, right, is, and it's still true. So my older brother, I hung out with a lot of his friends as well, and they're kind of like my older brothers growing up. So I joke around, it's like I had like 6 older brothers. I'm like, oh my God, you're a family of 7? I'm like, no, just 3. But these guys were like my older brothers.
Yeah.
One of those guys joined the Army, and he was a Humvee driver, and he went to Iraq. And I was talking to him, and I still have his number, my phone, like bend down range.
Yeah.
I was so stupid. Like, oh my, like bend down range. How moto is that in your phone?
That's
like,
awesome.
Okay, all right. Like high school Mason over here. And he talked to me. He's like, yeah, man, like we are never in a short supply of EOD techs, like dark humor. It's like people are like, shit's going down over here. It's like, okay, well, yep, definitely interesting. But being one of those people, like in EOD tech, and seeing Ben and his buddies who are also Humvee drivers, like they're just getting blown up left and right.
Yeah.
It's like if Ben stayed in and I found myself over there and like came to some Army call and it was like Ben in the passenger seat and I saved Ben from running that over, like life complete. You know what I mean? Like that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
That's like the sexy story, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the real story is...
Wait, hold on. Hold on.
So the real story is...
Oh, we got to do this. Oh, we got to set the lighting. Got to get the lighting. There we go. Bring it down. Okay.
No big deal.
Now the real story.
It's not that cool. Spoiler alert. So my buddy, so I went to Auburn. I'm an Alabama fan, though. Roll Tide. We're undercover. No big deal. A lot of us out there. But I went to Auburn, and I was going to join the Army. I wanted to be a Ranger so bad growing up. And I was like, yes, Army Rangers. Like, Rangers lead the way, yeah. Moto, high school, yeah. My buddy was like, dude, why would you do that? Like, Navy has way better retirement. We all have the same retirement. I didn't know back then. Like, okay, cool, Mason.
That's awesome.
So my buddy Andrew, he's like, come join the Navy with me in Navy RTC. Because it was that easy of a decision, right? Just sign your life away when you're in college.
Yeah, right.
Join the Navy with me and try and be a SEAL. And I was like, okay, like Ranger, SEAL. It's like, yeah, I could probably go do that. I did the first pool PT. We had one of our like academic advisors was a lieutenant commander SEAL that was getting out of the teams, wanted to go and be a dentist, but his pit stop for an ROTC billet for the transition out was at Auburn. So we had a SEAL lieutenant commander at Auburn giving us a scoop and putting us through like beat down sessions to get ready for cruise, first class cruise. And he was also a swimmer. So I think I haven't asked him if I'd say his name, but we'll just say Bob, right? So Bob, he was like, we're going to do swim PT. And I was like, okay, I got these swim workouts from Auburn University swim team. I don't know if you know much about Auburn University swim team, but they have, I think it's the Lee Martin Aquatic Center. And when you walk in and you look to the right, there's this board of people who have been to the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's the amount of like credibility this swim team has. And he got one of their workouts to beat us with. And nice. I grew up on the lake. I had never swam laps in a pool. Like I've never swam for exercise.
Yeah.
I almost drowned. We did this first pool PT and I was like, listen, Andrew, I don't want to do this anymore. That was horrible. I almost drowned out there. He made me feel like I couldn't swim. Like that's how bad it was. Like starting out, their first workout, it's like a 4,000 meter workout. Like it's intense.
That's pretty legit.
Like, and then it's broken up into like kicking, only arms, only legs. And it's like, I've never done this in my entire life. You know, me to do a 2,000 only legs. Like this is horrible.
Yeah.
So I went to my academic advisor literally the next day and I was like, listen, man, I don't think I want to be a SEAL option anymore. I was like, what else is out there? I still want to kind of like be in the special operations community because like I want to serve with the best. If I'm going to go out into harm's way, I want the best people to my left and right.
Yeah.
And I spoke to my like mentors and stuff, and he was like, well, there's EOD. And I was like, oh, well, what's EOD? And it's like, well, explosive ordnance disposal. Like, you know, you still get to, you know, run and gun and shoot people, but you also, you know, deal with bombs and you defuse bombs. I'm like, dangerous. I'm in. And so I soft commit to there until you like do your first class cruise and you get picked up for EOD. But I started training for EOD and I was like, I want to learn more. Well, we got an EOD State 21 guy at Auburn. His name was Matt Blackburn. I don't know if you know Matt at all. Short, looks like the Hulk, but a small baby version of the Hulk. Yeah, suck it, Matt. And
Got him.
But super chill guy, and instantly talking to him, and it was just like I'm talking to you right now. It's like just like a couple of guys out there, like just conversation. I was like, this guy's cool as shit. I was like, yeah, like this is the community. Like he's part of that community. He's like, I feel like I've known him for 10 years. Like, this is where I belong. And I had another mentor who was a retired senior chief, Navy EOD, and his name was Tim Burning. Talked to him to this day. He wrote me a rec letter to get into first class cruise.
Nice.
So I've known him for a little, like, almost like 10, 11 years now. Thinks he's a pirate. It's hilarious. I love Tim. And so Tim was like, hey, that's the first time I ever talked to him. So my aunt worked with his wife. And my aunt was like, what did you want to do in the Navy again? It's like EOD. It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, well, I think like this lady I work with, her husband is an EOD tech, or he was an EOD tech in the Navy, just like you want to do. And I was like, you want to talk to him? I was like, absolutely. And so here's Tim's, and she's like, here's Tim's number, just send him a text. It's like, you want me to talk to him? It's like, okay, cool. So I sent him a text.
This won't be weird at all.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Hey, Tim, if I can, no, that's stupid, Mr. Tim, yeah, we'll go with that. So Tim, so I was like, yeah, he's like, hey, okay, we're in the same city right now because I was on vacation in Nashville with my family at the time, where he lived. And he was like, meet me at Hooters at this time. And I was like, I like this guy already. So we meet at Hooters, and he was like, what do you want to do? That was his very first question. I was like, well, I want to be EOD. He was like, okay, do you know what EOD is? I told him a little bit about it. I was like, he's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of what it is. And he was like, this is the best way I can describe to you what it is. Also, this is what you should think about for your career. You are about to spend X amount of hours, time, your life with these people. Now, who do you want to spend your life with at work, and what kind of people do you want to surround yourself with for that entire time? Like, do you want to surround yourself with a bunch of McCastles? No. Do you want to surround yourself with a bunch of people who are like-minded, you know, hilarious, good to be around, easygoing? Like, that sounds better. It's like, okay, listen. He's like, what did you want to do before? And I was like, I wanted to be a SEAL. Like, cool. Natural. Just like everybody else. No big deal. Don't be shy about it. He's like, here's the difference between the two. They both dive, right? So yeah, you're going to have to do that for training and requal every year, so on and so forth. So here's the difference between both of those communities. And this is obviously extremely biased. Retired senior chief EOD tech, right?
Of course.
So he's like, here's how the SEALs will go and do a training dive mission. It's like, so, okay, guys, we're going to go. We need like 6 dives, bottom time of about 15 minutes each. We're going to go down. You're going to go to point Alpha. You're going to get out your compass, navigate. You're going to go to point Bravo. You're going to stay there for 5 minutes. Look at your dive buddy. Okays, ready? It's okay. Navigate, go to point Charlie. Once you arrive at point Charlie, 4s, come up. He explained all this to me. I had no idea. You're speaking Chinese to me, right? I had no idea what 4s navigate any of this, man. I'm just like, yes, yes. And he's like, okay, now this is EOD going out to do a training dive. He's like, all right, how many dives do we have to make? 6. Okay, cool. We'll do 6. Do we have them out of air? Okay. Do you have the spear guns? Did you research this wreck? Are there fish there? Yes. It's like, okay, we're going to go. We're going to do our dives. While we're down there, we'll do some environmentals, find the fish, kill the fish, bring them up, eat the fish later on, and call it a day. And I'm like, those are my people.
Yeah.
I was like, enough said. Cool. Where do I sign up?
That's awesome.
So spending that time finding the people that you jive with is, I would say, 70% of the battle. What you want to do for work fills in the rest of the gaps.
Yeah.
But like, who do you want to surround yourself with, and make sure you surround yourself with those people that you enjoy their company.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense, especially when, you think about like you spend the majority of your working life with the people that you work with, not necessarily with your family.
Absolutely. So, especially in this community.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. I like that. Interesting how much special operations programs people Auburn has.
No big deal. I was one of the first EOD cats, and then they commissioned 2 SEALs after me, and then another EOD guy who I trained. He was a sophomore and I was a senior. Like, literally all the gear I had, I gave it to him. I was like, do this, 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 train the next 3 years, and then go to school, and then go to dive school. Just graduated EOD school. Just got a grab on his chest, and he's on the West Coast.
That's awesome.
No big deal.
That's pretty cool. Making moves.
Got one.
Your legacy extends.
Yes.
That's awesome. So got into EOD. Well, actually, I like to ask this because it's interesting to see how people looked at and thought about what they were going to do as they went through dive school and EOD school. So the picture that you got coming in as an O, right, of what you're going to do when you get to the mobile unit.
I'm really excited to answer this question.
Was that the same from when you started till when you finished?
Absolutely fucking not. So old retired EOD senior chief, right? Telling me like, oh, this is what the mobile unit's like. This is what you can do for the job. Get there. Not a single one of those things happened. And I'm like, okay, this isn't what people thought they were telling me it was going to be. It's like, still cool. Like, really cool to be here with these guys and do this job and train. Like, learned a lot. Still not what he said it was.
Yeah.
Like, okay, times have changed.
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny that, like, especially if somebody got out a while ago,
mm-hmm.
It's like when you go and see a family member, right? And they've got a couple of kids and they're like 10 and 6 and 3, right? And then you come back 10 years later and you're like, no, you're not 20. You're only 10. I remember you as 10, so you're only 10. Like, I don't know what's happening right now. So it's
weird.
Yeah, it's like, it's interesting because, EOD is exactly the same as they remember it,
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
100%.
We still do it. What is kind of interesting is depending on where you are, that still can take place to an extent. But, like, out on Guam, there's a little more freedom sometimes.
A little bit more away from the flagpole.
Sometimes. Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
No big deal.
All right. So you got to your mobile unit, and doing your workups. How'd that go?
Incorrect.
Oh.
So the guy just had lunch with Chris Bianchi. Shout out, Diablo. So Chris got there first. He was in the class ahead of me. And then I got to the Mobile Unit 6, first command. And I get there, and Chris and I get called into the ops office. I've been there for like a week. And he's like, hey, I bet you'll have already seen this. All the platoons have already gone through 2-2. And they've already been built up. They've already been trained. We're about to deploy. It's like, yep, I can see that. So we have 0 OIC positions for y'all to fill. I still want to take you on deployment though. And we're like, okay, it's not bad. And he looks at us and he goes, cops, fops. And I was like, I'm gonna be a cop, dude. I had no idea the shitstorm I was about to go into. Worst deployment ever.
That's awesome.
You get through school, and they're like, you're going to be an EOD tech. Like, welcome to the warrior clan. And you're like, hell yeah, I'm a fucking warrior, dude. And you get there, and you're like, current operations officer. And you're like, that was not what I was expecting or what I wanted to do. Did I learn a lot? Like, to advance my officer skills? Absolutely. Like, learned how the op shop work. Learned how to get people from A to B. Learned, like, briefing, like talking to the skipper. I had to talk to the skipper every single day.
Yeah.
The skipper, I was literally the first person the skipper saw every morning on deployment to give him his personnel report, because I was responsible for tracking every single person in our AOR from 56.1. 156 people as a Lieutenant JG.
That's pretty easy though, right?
Yeah, no big deal, right? And then when people are outside the AOR because they're on a flight and their plane breaks down. Yeah, military planes are really good, by the way. And their plane breaks down in Crete, and they're in the Mediterranean outside our AOR. And then you get a call to your desk from 56, and it's an 06, and you're like, hello, sir. This is Lieutenant Junior Grade Mason McCabe. And he's like, can I speak to somebody else, please? And you're like, oh, yes, right away, sir. Like, calling people as the current, like, I kept saying, yeah, I'm the current operations officer. Yeah. I stopped saying, like, LTJG on the phone instantly. Because awesome. I got nothing done.
Yeah.
0 things done. I had to call NAVCENT. I had to call 56. If I called them, I had to like lower your voice a little bit so you sound older, and then just say current operations officer. Because as soon as JG comes out of your mouth, you are instantly negative credibility, and you're going to get nothing done.
I do find it interesting. So you said plane breaks down in Crete. I guarantee 102%. that plane was fully working. Oh, yeah. It only, quote unquote, broke down because, I mean, it's Crete.
The ramp doesn't go up anymore. 24-hour repair. Yeah, write that on the sheet.
Exactly. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome and not. But a lot of good experience, you know. How'd that help you, though, getting that perspective first and then getting your team and doing a workup and all that?
I would say it definitely helped me out, especially on the officer board.
Yeah.
And all the other JOs that just graduated school came to 6, and now we're going to the workup again. And I was like, yeah, this is how all this works. And they're like, where did you learn all this? I was like, listen, I've been in Bahrain for 6 months doing all this stuff daily and talking to the OPSO. It's like, he's not a scary person. He just puts his pants on just like you do every single day. You can just go talk to him. Like, it's okay. Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do, actually.
Right.
You don't have to send him an email saying, like, can I schedule an appointment with you? Just walk in his office.
Yeah.
It's all right. He's a human being. But it definitely helped me out to get going. And I knew the admin side of the house, but then relied heavily on my LCPO, Matt. Shout out. You're the best. You're one of the boys. Learned everything from you. And Matt taught me a whole hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, you had a good base, but like sit back down a little bit, and Daddy's going to show you the way. It's like, got it. Don't know much still. Looking to be a sponge and learn from you. So yeah, show me the way.
Yeah.
But definitely had a leg up for sure.
Nice. That's good. I think I'm going to have to start calling Matt Daddy because I just like the way that sounds.
Absolutely.
No, that is good. You know, understanding that side, I think that's super valuable. That takes a lot. There's a lot less questions, I think, that you'd have to worry about as you're doing some things. You're like, okay, even if you don't like what you're doing, at least now you know why you're doing it. Correct. So that you're like, okay, I can buy into it because I know why, not because I like that I'm doing X, Y, or Z. You know?
Right. Absolutely. You see the bigger picture because you've been there.
Exactly. So that first deployment, where'd you guys go?
So first deployment with Matt and I.
Mm-hmm.
So we were the MOB plus platoon, which doesn't exist. It's a fake platoon. It's not even an FTN for MOB plus. It's just mobility. But anyways.
But you got a plus. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. There's a plus.
Or CRIF minus. Either one. Doesn't matter. MOB plus, CRIF minus.
I like that.
And so we were in charge of East Africa. And Matt was a pivotal point in training us and getting us ready, because learning from him, he had such a wealth of knowledge and trained us all the basics. Wasn't really focused on all the advanced stuff, but trained us so well on the basics that even our most junior guys were spun up and like dependable.
Yeah.
Which, not saying that's rare, but it's not the norm.
Yeah.
So that was outstanding work. And yeah, we went to Somalia.
Nice. That is, I think that's a huge thing. And that's something that's sometimes missed is like, man, the basics. The basics aren't always sexy, but if you have those down, you can do the sexy things.
You can do anything.
That becomes actually kind of easy. But if you've only done the sexy things, basic things are hard. I don't know how the math works that way, but somehow it's true.
I went, so after we got back, and then I went to Matsu and then came back, one of my guys on my team, Bill, and he was like, hey, when you come back and just like, I'm trying to get you out of the office here, and like, say less. Where you at? The dunes? Cool, I'm there in 5 minutes. And so he's like, just watch this drill and like take some notes for me. And I was like, cool. And so some of those guys are doing drills and they're doing the basics, but like looking, I was like, hey, what's the background of these guys before I like watch them do a drill? He's like, yeah, like been ASOC, like done hostage rescue drills and all that stuff. And I was just watch some of these guys like walk through basic tripwires. I'm like, do you not scan doorways before you, like, this is the basic stuff? Like what, when you like take a little step back for a second, you know what I mean? And let's go back to the basics. And they had done all this, just like you're saying, this whiz-bang stuff, but then just the basic shit was like destroying them.
Yeah.
Like, I think they've been there for too long. Take a few steps back.
Yeah.
Let's come back and let's train this for a minute. You know what I mean? That'll be the best case going forward.
Yeah. Nice.
For sure.
That's a good perspective to be able to bring in so that you can actually rein people back to get them actually ready for.
And not that like I've done that stuff either.
Yeah.
But it's like just seeing it from the, like, you're just sitting there and you're like, you don't have any part in the drill and you're just watching it. And you're just like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. He did it. He did it.
Yeah.
Like, okay. All right. Don't. I did that too. It's like, okay. Just like writing notes on your phone. You're like, oh, wow, I need another page here.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus.
That's funny. So I know some interesting things happen on deployments.
Absolutely.
Got any fun stories you'd like to share, or
There's
fun now stories, maybe not as fun then?
so it's always cool to hear stories from like all, I won't say names here besides Matt, because I've already said his name, but all the other guys, like yourself, like who have been there, done that, been with me for years. Like Matt's had like 4, 5, 6 combat deployments, and you're just like the wealth of stories that this guy has. And I just did like the one, and you're like,
Yeah.
I still like, and the stories I have just from the one, and you're like, you've done this 6 times? Like, oh my God. Like, Jesus. Oh, but just from the one. So do you want a funny story or a serious? I'll tell you both. Funny story or serious story first?
Let's go funny first.
Funny first. So the time that I almost shit my pants over nothing. So I'm in Big 5, and we had 7 US FIGs in the convoy. Total convoy, 75 vehicles.
That's a lot of vehicles.
It was insane. We had 300 partner force with us.
Wow.
Insane, right? And 65 vehicles. And I get a call. I'm in Vic 5 towards the last of the Vic of the U.S. vehicles, and it's me and one of my new guys in there. And a call comes up to the C2, and they're like, "Hey, closest EOD tech, there is partner force has spotted some sort of IED in the rear of the convoy." And I'm like, my call sign was 9-1. I was like, 9-1, I'm on it. So I'll be back in an hour. Like, jeez. So I take one of the SEALs with me. I'm like, "You're my security." And he's like, "Did I draw the short stick?" I'm like, "You're just the first person I saw, dude. I'm sorry." We gotta start jogging. We start jogging. It's like a mile to the end of the convoy. On our way there, we just hear like Dushka fire, like, and we're like, they're shooting it, aren't they? Like, partner force says that they shot the ID out of the tree. I'm like, God damn it. So we're on our way there, and we finally get there, like, however many, we'll say hours later. And I was like, okay, yep. Like, I have my translator with me. I'm like, "Hey, we'll ask them where the ID is." And I said, "Well, they said it was there, but now it's there. And they disarmed it." I'm like, "Oh, cool. How did they disarm it?" "They shoot with like big machine gun." I'm like, "Cool. Not disarm, but now it's very angry. Thank you. Where is it? Can they see it from here? Point it out to me." And so I was like, okay. I was like, "No one go over there." And so I'm looking, I was like, "Hey, just make sure none of these guys get squirrely." Like, talking to CEO, and it's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna look at this thing." So I'm like looking at it through like my rangefinder and everything, and I see a plastic piece where there used to be a phone. And I'm like, holy shit, like, they have pretty good aim. Like,
Yeah.
They're actually aiming for that fucking thing. And so, like, well, it looks like there's a phone on there. There isn't anymore. It's charred pieces of plastic somewhere. So, like, good on you guys. Cool. We have the 1 in a million. Nailed it.
Right.
Gonna mark this like on ATAC. Okay, cool. There's right here. It's not bothering anybody, and we are not trying to blow that up right now. So, like, coming down, asking for, commander's intent from your GFC. It's like, "Hey, like, we're not dealing with that right now. Mark, circumvent. That's what we're gonna do." It's like, cool, got it. Marked on ATAC. Mark, circumvent. All right, coming back to the front of the convoy. This is where it gets real. And so, going back to the front of the convoy, and the SEAL had taken off onto like some side route. Like, he went off, did his things. Like, yeah, I'll be fine. Translator making tea with partner force.
Of course.
Do your thing, dude. Cool. By myself now. I should not have done this.
Alone and afraid.
Alone and very afraid. So I'm on my way back, the mile-long trek back to my vehicle. And somehow, some way, along the way, between then and now, we had these backhoes that we were taking with us, and they are front-end loaders, and they were going to be used to fill these HESCO barriers. Well, one had broken down, so they kind of, I guess, left out to the side and they're working on it. So there's this one backhoe, a football field of nothing, and then the next backhoe. And I'm like, oh, man. Okay. And then there's that backhoe and then my vehicle.
Yeah.
Because, no, one more and then my vehicle. And turns out one of the other EOD techs was standing on top of this vehicle. And so I'm like, okay, like, I'm just going to, like, everything's normal. Just walking through, like, that is a long way of just nothingness.
Yeah.
Like, just walking, okay, yep, we're cool. I get directly in the center of this gap, and an AK round just goes up, like, literally 15 meters to my left. First, I shit myself, and then I sprint. I have never moved this fast in my life in full kit. Yeah. And I just sprinted to this vehicle, dove, hit my head on the tire, and I'm just like... And I look up, and the other EOD tech is laughing at me. I'm like, why are you still standing up there? And he's like, that partner force dude just shot himself in the foot. Like, son of a bitch. This dude just shot him, AD'd right into his foot. I shit myself and then ran into the nearest cover, which was like 50 yards away. I almost had a heart attack on the way there, all for nothing. In
That's
hindsight,
awesome.
super hilarious.
Yeah.
Bring me my brown pants now, please.
I'd like them the same color.
Yes.
Oh, dude. That's rough.
Yeah. So that was, it's like, man, not only have I just shit myself, but I'm super sweaty. Now I got to get back in the mappy with everybody. All right, everybody, I apologize for getting the seat. And I close all these armored doors and lock ourselves in here with this stench.
And it's not hot over there, right? So it didn't make
No big deal. Just Africa.
I enjoy that it's not even weird in this community to freely talk about when you poop yourself. Like,
For the record, it was a little sharp. But yes.
like I've done that, and not even for a good reason, just because I thought it was a fart.
It's like, oh, mistake.
Yeah. Well, good thing we're diving.
No big deal.
Oh, I love it. So what you got?
Serious story. So it was early September, and we were in camp. So we'd got to this place doing this mission at this location. No big deal. And it was kind of in the air. Like you could feel it. It's like September 11th's coming up, bro. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, like there's Al-Qaeda members like around here and then like some bomb makers. So it's like they probably planning something. Well, they came early. No big deal. And a little bit early to that day. And we were sitting around having coffee. And we had been in this location for a day or two now. And we started taking rounds. And it was weird because it was like, they're not trying to hit us. It was just like RPK and AK rounds just overhead.
Yeah.
And you're like, sing, sing. Like everyone obviously scrambles to cover. And I was a little bit of away because I was at the cop. And I was like, hey, like, it's like, start taking fire. And I was like, get into cover. And I was like with three other dudes. And two other dudes. I don't know. It's all haze now. It's two other dudes. And I like go get under cover. And before I even got there, and I was like, instantly, it's like literally 2 seconds later, I was like, yeah, so like the biggest explosion I've ever been that close to in my entire life.
Yeah.
That was the most scared I have ever been in my entire life. I thought, because we got hit by VBIED, and I had never, like, ears ringing, like you're in shell shock and all that shit, and I had never known what a VBIED looks like when it, like,
Yeah,
I just saw like this. It's like shockwave hits you and passes through you, and your ears are ringing, and you just look up, and it's just this column of smoke and dirt in the air. I thought we were getting mortared.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, there's 5 more coming. And I look up, and you just see sky, and you're like, I'm not in the right cover right now. This is horrible. This is the most scared of my entire life. And I'm like trying to get somebody on the radio, and no one's answering. And I had 2 junior guys with me. And these 2 junior guys, it's literally like that scene from the movies. I turn around, I look at them, and both of them are just like looking at me, motionless, just dead silent.
Yeah.
And it's that like, what do we do now, sir? And you're like, oh my God, this is the moment. This is it. This is what we trained for. As officers, this is the moment. And you're like, all right, come up with a plan. Say something. It's like, here's what we're going to do. And so it's like, all right, yep. We're going to bound cover to cover, get back to, because we were literally right there, and we didn't have far to go. But what worried me is those 300 partner force are all around us now.
Yeah.
And you're instantly like, so 50 of those people they're like special forces, conscripted soldiers. The other 250 are militia. And they're volunteers. Don't tell me none of those people aren't enemies. You know what I mean? So I'm like, we are not in a good place right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just waiting for some of these dudes to straight turn on us because they think they have the upper hand right now because we just got punched in the face real hard.
Yeah.
And no one's answering. And we get back to camp, like that split second. I like literally the bed I was sitting on 6 minutes ago, torn to shreds.
Really?
I was like, I don't think I'd be here right now if I was still there, dude. Like, wow, that that's what it's like. Like, holy hell. If I was literally right here, I'd be in pieces.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I'm not.
Yeah.
So, like,
always good to look on the positive.
There, man. No big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, not a bullet, big ass bomb. And so, turns out, as soon as we started taking fire from a certain direction, about 180 out, a vehicle-borne IED, they had pushed it through the night to avoid turning it on and it being a heat signature for ISR to see. I don't know how ISR didn't see the 15 very skinny people in Africa that it took to push this heavy-ass armored vehicle through the woods. Didn't see that heat signature. I digress. But anyways, they did it. They succeeded, and it was ready. It exploded out of the woods, no pun intended. Gunned it straight for our position. So we were partner force perimeter and then U.S. perimeter. And this was just school circle vehicles. What we were building wasn't ready yet. And so it ramped over our partner force perimeter and got in between the partner force perimeter and us.
Wow.
And then detonated. It was close.
That's
and
crazy.
It was big. And people remember like shooting at it, but they don't remember seeing anything, which means, okay, like this dude was probably in a steel coffin with like some little slit. Like, remember shooting at the windshield, but not seeing a person. It's like, okay, well, yeah, this guy's literally sealed in there, and the only way he's getting out is if he blows himself up.
Yeah.
Like, it's a suicide bomber. And somebody's probably waiting in the bushes with some sort of radio in case he chickens out. And so this thing gets in there, detonates, chaos. And we're trying to scramble and get everything ready. It's like, hey, I'm trying to help people find certain phones to call certain people that are now in a pile of rubble. And there's just, and you think about like what people see movies, right? And war's glorified. And then something like that happens to you and you see, not like sure how well or into the weeds we get in this podcast.
Whatever you want, man.
So you just see like body parts everywhere and you're like, that's real.
Yeah.
Like there's a piece of flesh right there on that mound. That's crazy. That's probably from the suicide bomber. And you're like, cool.
Yeah.
Good guy. And so I'm like, you get rockets. You get A-dubs. I'm going to go get rockets and A-dubs. I'll meet you at the like perimeter. There's probably more coming. And so on my way to the perimeter and I hear there's one WIA. And I'm like, oh, who is it? And it's U.S. I'm like, okay. I won't say any names in here or anything like that. Yeah. News reports already come out, but when it happened, but it's like not coming out. So, long story short, so it was like, okay, bird getting called in, like 9-1, I need you to clear an LZ. It's like, oh, like, yeah, like we're actually doing this. Like this is part of like our drills all the time, and it's like you never actually do it,
right?
But then you're like, this is the second time I've had to do this now. So, I think this person that called me to go do it was just like, hey, he's already done this. Like, go do this again. It's like, cool. Like, I can trust him. It's like, cool. Mm-hmm. So I'm like looking around. I'm like, you want me to go out there and go do this? Like right now? He's like, oh, well, yeah, that's the only place the bird can land. I'm like, you're right. Yep, I got this. So go out there. And like outside of all the perimeter, like you're talking about what it was like before and then what you had to do outside. They never tell you, like, yeah, the EOD tank, like most of the time, you're just going to be out there by yourself. Yeah. Because nobody can go out there except you. Yeah. So it's like, you guys got my back, right? Cool. Or I'm going out there. So you run out there, you're like clearing all the perimeter. Most of the place we were in, it was like concrete. So like if something was buried or whatever, like you would definitely see it. It'd literally be like cut out. Yeah. And so you're like, as you're walking, you're like, I'm literally stepping on concrete right now. Like I don't have to waste my time here with a metal detector, like threat assessment, right? Just looking around, it's like, okay, like I cleared the LC, put your, what's it called? VS-17 panel, nose in on the VS-17 panel, which will have left door open, ready to receive patients. And so I'm thinking I'm going to go back and help with the U.S. patient. And they're like, hey, get this partner force dude on the bird. It's like, really? We're doing that now? I was like, yeah. It's like, I mean, okay, like, sure. But is there enough room? He's like, yeah, absolutely. We've already done all the work. Like, him, and then that guy, they're all getting on the bird. It's like, okay. So I wasn't even thinking, what is the most infectious disease that is the most common in Africa? HIV/AIDS.
Yeah.
Right? This dude is bleeding everywhere. I just, like, you're just in the moment, right? You like pick him up, like get him, like, oh yeah, I'm carrying this dude to the helicopter.
Yeah.
And I put him on the helicopter and I'm like coming out and I look down, like my pants are just covered in blood, like partner force blood. And I'm like, I'm about to throw up, dude. Hang on, I was like,
Yeah.
like, I think I was even more scared then than getting shot. I was like, okay, at least if this went off, I would get killed instantly. It's like, I'm about to die slow painful death now. Like, I have cuts all over me. It's probably got in my mouth at some point. I instantly go to our ER doc. I'm like, he's like, you're going to be fine. I didn't even say anything. He's
Yeah.
like, you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. I was like, I don't know if you're saying that to me right now just because of the situation or I'm actually going to be okay. Come back. Everything's fine. So I was like, okay, whew, terrific. So that was a solid, I don't even know how long a time lapse between then and then. But that was the most scared I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty legit reason to be scared. Was that the first like ID that you guys came across?
No. So we had on that one mission encountered 17 IEDs. That was 18, if you include that one.
Yeah.
But disarmed, disposed of, like, we circumvented a lot, I think 5. And then that 4th one took out half our partner force EOD cats.
Oh, wow.
We told them, I was like, you can teach somebody time and time again, but in the moment, they're going to do what they're going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of like one thing that'll hang with you. It's like, you have taught these people your entire deployment. You've trained them, like that was your job. And then they go down range and then they get blown up.
Yeah.
And you're like, did I train them well enough? Did they do what they're supposed to do or did they not? Like, is this my fault? Is this their fault? Bottom line is, can't think about that.
Yeah.
What happened, happened. You can't change it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so the IEDs got more complex and larger, and they just slipped up. And it cost, one guy got cut in half, another guy was bleeding out of literally every orifice on his body, and then 4 other dudes, eardrums, perf, severe concussions. So we're at 6 now. We had 11 dudes. So now we have 5 partner force EOD techs. All those 2 dudes that were in critical condition were 2 of our 3 team leaders that we have dubbed team leaders and the most skilled. And then another guy that had his eardrums perf getting taken off the battlefield was the last team leader. So now we have no partner force team leaders. So it's like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
So we made it work. But yeah, that we encountered a lot of IEDs, took casualties, but improvised, adapted, and overcame.
Yeah.
And got back home. So we went there, we sort of did whatever we were supposed to do, and then we all came back alive, U.S. at least. But we had total, and you can tell the regular partner force not to go do something, they're going to go do it.
Yeah.
I think, total partner force K was like 15 or 20
Wow.
in there. So we took casualties definitely on
That's
that
a
mission,
lot,
for sure.
Going, running across your first IED, all the training up to there, how was your, I don't know, like mindset and then reaction to it, like with taking into consideration all the training up to that point, did it just like obviously everything's different, right? Like every situation you come across is different, but did everything make sense in that, like the training let you have you ready basically for what you come across and then go how?
Absolutely. Great question. So I had the most difficult drill for my first real world call, which was a no drill. So I had, it's funny, like what was the mindset in training and then it's like playing poker at your buddy's house. You're just like, oh yeah, like $5 buy-in and like winner gets all the money, but you get as many chips as you want. But then like going to casino and actually playing poker and actually having to pay for every single chip, like stakes are raised. And you're like, this is real. It's kind of like that. So it's like training. It's like, yeah, did the training help me? Fell right into the niche. It's fell right into the groove. Did exactly as training told you to do. And you're absolutely prepared to do your job. So the EOD pipeline, EOD training, bar none, the best hands down.
Yeah.
Mainly because you're getting trained by that elite group that has been there, done that for years and years and years. That whole pass down of knowledge, real thing, and actually absolutely helps you out, right? So the call was disturbed earth to the left of VIC 4. I was in VIC 5, closest EOD tech, go there now. Got it. 9-1, exiting the vehicle. Very first call of my entire career, real world. And I'm like, okay, you guys got me, right? They're like, yeah, you're going to get out? And I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to do that now. Okay. All right, I'm opening the door. Like, narrating everything I'm doing. They're like, oh, he's not nervous at all. So I thought you're supposed to be the one that's like, yeah, I got this. Not nervous at all. Like, hope you're okay out there, pal. So go out there, super nervous. But, like, you know what to do. Mm-hmm. I was never at a point where I was like, I have no idea what to do now.
Right.
He was like, no, you walk up there and you're like, yep, I do this. And then I do this. Okay, that didn't do anything. Well, I'm going to do this now. I was like, well, that didn't do anything. You're like going down your threat assessment, going down your checklist here. And you're like, all right, I'm going to do these two more things. And if like nothing comes up, it's like, then I know like through training, like there's nothing there. Mm-hmm. And some people are like, you're insane for like doing that. But I've talked like, it's like 50-50 from what I did after the fact. So it's like, you go over there, like do your CHIA and your metal detector. It's like nothing. They'll always teach you like 2 tool confirmation or at least 3 tool confirmation, right?
Yeah.
So it's like eyes, disturbed earth. Like it looks legit. It's like in the side of the embankment on the road facing towards the vehicle. And you're like, fuck. All right. It's like CHIA, like, okay, like nothing hitting right here. It's like, okay, like CHIA around it. This is after I've done a secondary search, by the way. Don't get mad at me. I've already done my secondary search in 360, right? Long range recon. It's like nothing outside's going to kill me first and suck me into the problem. So I get in there, like, okay, like secondary search, like, okay, CHIA, nothing. It's like, I'm going to probe, dig away, probe, dig away, probe, dig away. It's like, I'm digging a trench over here, dude. Like I'm getting nothing. Well, I've cleared some dirt away. Let's CHIA it again. Like, less interference. I'm like, nothing. I'm like, oh, God, hate this. So it's like nothing. It's like, okay, let's probe a little bit more. So look at it, threat assessment. It's like, well, now that I look at it this angle and I've uncovered a little bit, it's like, God, doesn't look like there's nothing there. It's like, do you say there's nothing there? It's like, you're the guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're the guy right now. Like, there is nothing there. If you say there's nothing there and somebody comes out and gets blown up, like, that's on you, dude. And it's like, this is where I've come to 50-50. It's like 50-50 of the people I've told what I've done next is like, you're insane. And the other 50% of the people are like, yeah, I do that all the time. That's exactly what I do. It's like, okay, so you probably know what I'm about to say. So I look at this and I'm like, okay. Sorry, Carly. This is my wife, by the way. So you look at it and you're like, as the EOD tech, like, I'm not living with that thing. With all that grief, if something were to happen, it's like, I'm going to do this. Like, nut up or shut up. Time to do it. This is your job. So you look at it and you're like, okay, there's nothing there. Just stomp as hard as you can right there. You're like, all right, there's nothing there. Cool. All right, yep, it's clear. 9-1, moving back. Like, no, I've also shit myself again.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But yeah, step on that thing and all right, there's nothing there. Trust yourself. This was your training.
Yeah.
You've literally looked at it. You've cheated it. You've probed it. You've dug away at it. It's like you've done all these things. You didn't find anything. There's no wires. There's no pressure plate. You even reach yet after you've done all that. No metal signature. Okay, maybe it's plastic. Well, you probed like way the fuck down in there. It's like there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Now trust your training. Like, is there nothing there? Would you let 5 people walk over here?
Right.
Do it yourself before you ask somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
That's it. Nothing there. No drill for my first one. That sucked.
That
way to get you in there. Just pop the cherry right away.
It is funny that it's almost unanimous when it comes to that. You take that drill and you put it in the training environment. maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
What the answer is.
That's about how long it took, really. It's about 15 minutes. You're like sweating bullets. Like, how long has it been? It's like an hour and like 13 minutes. Like, okay, cool.
Exactly. But then, you throw that drill at one of the training units, and there's no way that they would not put something here. There's got to be.
This is real life. That's real life, bro.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Ooh.
But how was just being on deployment with the guys? Not necessarily like taking in the EOD actions and all that, but just actually going out deploying with the guys. Not as cops, not as fops, not doing like that kind of thing, but actually being out with your team that you trained with. How'd you enjoy that?
Let me tear up here, because when you get out, this is the thing you're going to miss the most. And everybody tells you it's going to be. Can't confirm it is. It's like yes, you're living in a plywood box where it's like any minute, any night, they could do a mortar raid on your position and just like nothing stopping you. Like, you could die at any time. Mm-hmm. Like knowing that, but like you're with the boys, you're in the like shittiest living assignments, but it's just like the time of your life. Yeah. It's like, dude, like we have nothing to do. We've prepped all our gear. It's like noon. What else do we do? Well, of course we play spike ball for 5 hours. Like, yeah, why not? Drink all the water and play spike ball for 5 hours. You're hungry? Go get an MRE. Who cares? Dinner's at 7. Like, cool. So, like, just being there with the boys, like, it's just you. Like, cool. Like, everyone has their entertainment. Like, you play on your Switch or Xbox or whatever. Some people have a Gucci setup and that Xbox, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe a Pelican case with a TV built in. And
no big deal. Just self-sustaining. Like, I built this on my own. It's legit. This is awesome. Yeah. But that gets old. And like, yeah, I'm from Alabama. I grew up like literally playing in the creek from sun up to sundown. Like, you come back and like you're just dirty as hell. And your mom's like, "What did you do?" Yeah. Like, go eat, shower, and go to bed. Yeah. Jesus. And so it's like I can only be locked inside for so long. Like, I have to be outside. I'll like start pacing around the house, and the wife's like, "What are you doing?" Like, "Do you want to go outside?" And like, first, I'm not a dog, okay? but yes, I will go outside right now and do something outside. But yeah, so you're being there. Like, we had cooking teams, so we would get an air supply or resupply every 2 weeks of food, and there's no chefs, and breakfast and lunch were on you. Just go find it yourself, make it yourself. But then we had cook teams, I think like 9 cook teams, and you would cook for the entire outstation when it was your turn to cook.
Nice.
Roughly around like, and it ranged from 80 to like 130 people. Yeah. And you're cooking for all those people. So like your job that day. And so like from Alabama, people are like, "Oh, it's Mason's cook day." Like, hell yeah. It's like I see him firing up the little concrete pillar grill there. Like, yeah, it's gonna be some good. We would get these ribeye rolls. I don't know if you've ever seen a ribeye roll like from a butcher. It's like this fucking big and just this huge hunk of meat. Like, if you were to stab this with tongs or try and pick it up, it bends your tongs. And so we'd have like 12 of these fucking things on this center block charcoal grill with just a metal grate over the top. And you're like, this is what the boys work with. Yeah. Yeah. So we're cooking on this thing, and I would like slow roast them, dude. I would start at dinners at like 6 or 5:36. I would just start like, I'd wake up early in the morning, fire that bitch up. I'd be cooking all day.
That's awesome.
Get burnt to shit. Just doing pull-ups as you're cooking, shirts off, been out here for 10 hours, no sunscreen, lobster by the end of the day.
But that's why you look so good now.
No big deal. So, yeah, like you just, it's up to you. And other cook teams are like, we're going to get microwave macaroni because they don't know how to cook. Tonight, I might eat an MRE. Like, who knows? So that was an interesting experience. But hanging out with the boys, it's time of your life.
That's awesome. Glad you threw in that microwave part, because I thought, man, this is good, but I might have to edit it out because people will be mad now that their wives know that they know how to cook. But yeah. Threw in that not everybody knows how to cook.
Not everybody. So, okay. Not for everybody.
That's good. That's good. Appreciate it.
I'm the chef in my household, by the way.
Looking out for the boys.
No big deal. Absolutely. Always.
Are you the chef in your house?
I sure am.
Question. Mm-hmm. So, does your wife has she accepted that, or is that like, is she frustrated that you're the chef? Like,
Absolutely not.
okay,
Expects dinner to be ready.
nice.
I'm like, yep, I got it. Don't worry.
That's funny.
Now, can she cook? She can follow a recipe. But if I'm like, hey, cook this, just wing it, I'm
so much.
afraid of what's going to come out on the other side.
Yeah, when I got married, I got married when we came to Virginia Beach. Came back from Guam, literally got married en route from between when I flew into LA, drove up to Montana, got married, came to
No big
Virginia
deal.
Beach.
Nice.
But at the beginning, I say this openly, so even if she hears, she won't. I mean, she might get mad at me, but that's all right. Yeah, it would be the first time. My wife was not. If water didn't have instructions, it would have been hard to figure out how to boil it.
Wow, that's rough.
But she is extremely competitive. Like in things that you shouldn't be. Back in the day when I actually could run, we went on a run together and she was like angry at me because she couldn't keep up with me. It's like that we shouldn't be competing. There's like we're not close enough to be like in competition.
John,
but
why are you running so fast?
Right. But with cooking, she was frustrated and like annoyed and I don't know, other things that I could cook.
No big deal.
And so she spent a long time like learning to cook and now like she pretty much cooks everything, so it actually for me, it turned out really good. So
The tables have turned.
yeah, like
Okay.
the competitiveness, it worked out in
Reverse
one
psychology.
area, right?
Crushed it. My man. Playing the long game.
Exactly. How was switching from being an EOD mobile unit to going over to the mud suit side of life?
I like this question because I would like to shed some light on this transition. Most people in the EOD community, especially JOs, and especially JOs who have had one platoon and they're like, this is my next platoon, like I'm only going to get 2, if that. And then like I ride a desk the rest of the time. Like I want to do something EOD and then ride a desk. You know what I mean? I had the time of my life over at Matsu. It was fantastic.
Nice.
Was it busy? That was the busiest command I've ever been at.
Really?
Well, I've been at 2 commands, but that command was super busy. They get RFSs all the time for anything, especially even just around base. It's like, okay, well, CRS dropped another M9 like in the drink. Like we got to go find it. Do you have any? Like, I know you. Like, do you have any idea how hard it is, or how easy it is to find something this big in 5 feet of mud in 0 viz? And you're like, yeah, let me get right on that. Yeah, no big deal. It's like, okay, who's our junior guy? It's like, cool, get over here. All right, we're gonna do this on scuba, so you have limited time. That is a factor. It's also January, so you'll be in a dry suit. It's gonna be miserable down there, but we have to do this because this is our job. Here's what you're gonna do. There's gonna be probably no less than 500 welding rods down there. So you're going to find all those first. You're going to think you found it, but you didn't. But you're going to go down there and keep your regulator tight in your mouth. Actually, all right, swap those regulators out, get out full face mask. So you don't have to worry about it. You're just going to submerge yourself 3 feet into the mud and then starfish your way forwards, following this jack and stay line. And then when you finally find the gun, and that's a good point. Don't go like this. Go more like this because you're in a 3-dimensional area, right? The mud goes down and up. So you're going to find this thing. And then we had pretty good divers on my team. My team was legit. Company 2-3 represent. Y'all are dope. Loved every second of being on that team, leading you guys and being a part of it. Y'all are legends. And I was just walking among giants. Appreciate it. But going through, we would always find it. So I had really good divers. And then our deployment, not necessarily a tough one, you know what I mean? Someone's got to do it, but it was to Southcom, and we got to go to Belize. We went to Rio de Janeiro. We went to Viña del Mar, Chile, which was awesome. The Chileans, they are pretty much on par diving-wise with us. They just don't do mixed gas. But as far as service applied, scuba, everything, fantastic divers.
Nice.
Salvage experts, 100%. Really like working with those guys. They're also really fun to hang out with.
Yeah.
So there's this alcohol in Chile. It's called pisco. It's kind of like brandy. It's like kind of like a sweeter whiskey.
Yeah.
But it's like, I would say it's around 100 proof. It's a lot stronger.
Yeah.
And getting pisco wasted is way different. I mean, I don't know what's in that stuff, but you're going to have a good time regardless. Pisco it's a pretty fantastic alcohol. Tastes delicious, very dangerous. But they introduced to that and like, oh, piscolas. I'm like, well, what's a piscola? I'm like, no, a drink. I'm like, oh, piscola. Cool.
Pistola.
No, pisco cola. Oh, gotcha. Cool. Piscola. Cool. All right. But yeah, so the Mutsu world is busy, but as an EOD officer, you are expanding your horizon, right? Different community. Divers are a different kind of people.
Yeah.
So your leadership and managerial skills that you've developed with EOD tanks don't necessarily transition over like for your officers out there.
Yeah.
So like you will have to change your ways, very, very minuscule, but you still need to change them in order to be efficient and effective. But if you have a high social IQ, should be no problem for you.
Nice.
Not all of us have that here.
Yeah.
So those of you who don't have it, learn it. But I didn't have a hard time. I had a very good match diver, very good chief, and they made things easy for me. Nice. And the way we kind of established and hashed out that ratio and that relationship was, it's like, look, sure, I've been to JDO and I've dove all these rigs. I know how everything works. But doing a salvage, it's like, you've been doing this for years, right? I'm not one to just like assume the side and be like, I'm the officer in charge. Blah, blah. It's like, I'm not. Like, you've done this for 16 years. Like, you lead this and tell me what to do. I'll be here for that 10,000 foot view. Safety, cool. That's my thing. You know what I mean? That's what I'm here for. I'll make sure that we don't get into trouble and keep us within our left and right lateral limits. But as far as the subject matter expert, that is you.
Yeah.
Now, when we go to the gun range, we go to the demo range, we're doing any expeditionary thing, like, I'll take over. I got it. Don't worry. Because I know y'all do this much of that stuff.
Right.
And when I took over and did all that stuff, like, yeah, they let me do my thing. It was an understood kind of relationship, and it worked very well.
That's awesome. That's good. That's interesting. I mean, I guess it's probably similar in the officer role on the EOD team, vice the Mutsu team. Mm-hmm. With you've got lots of experience in the enlisted guys, so they can guide you. The big difference, obviously, on the EOD team, you're still doing it sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
When closest EOD tech, and you're like, okay,
that's me. Yeah.
Hey guys, that's
absolutely.
Cool. That's cool though.
Mm-hmm.
So after Mutsu, you transitioned out after Mutsu, or did you do 2 rounds there?
So technically there were 2 deployments there because one of them was a humanitarian mission.
Okay, yeah.
So as soon as I got to Mutsu, and I was like, so it didn't instill confidence in me, right? It's like, hey, welcome to Mutsu. We're going to New York to stand up this COVID vaccination center. It's a humanitarian deployment. I'm like, you just said the word deployment. We're deploying to New York. We're like, yes. Sick. I have literally been here for less than a month. My wife is going to kill me. I literally just got back from deployment. Sorry, honey. Going again. Number 3, I'll be back. By the way, I still have to do number 4.
Yeah.
That's coming. But yes, I'll be back. But that deployment's interesting because that is something that is trademarked in our history as a country. Like, yes. Like, when you look back into history, you're like, well, here was like the Spanish flu came over, and you're like, that was a pandemic, and a lot of people died. It's like, oh, what about like, oh, yeah, COVID-19, like, that was a pandemic, and a lot of people died. And it's like, yeah, well, your granddad went up to New York and, like, was in charge of giving people vaccines and, like, getting people vaccinated and, like, going through and making sure that you're curbing the pandemic and helping people out. Like, he was a part of that. And, like, part of that time in history. So even though like that job sucked, it was no days off. Every single day the clinic was open and people were able to get appointments. And we took appointments from, I think it was 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Jeez.
Every day. So go home, over 12-hour days, and then you sleep for a little bit, and then you come back and you do it all again the next day. And they were there for 3 months.
It's
rough.
I'm tired right now.
Right?
Just thinking about that.
Wow. And so I wasn't there for 3 months. I got to go home after a little bit because of my training cycle was starting up with my company. Mm-hmm. So I was like, gotta go. Bye. Yeah. Sick.
It's been fun.
Here's the out. All right, take all these guys with me too. Like, let's go. Here for the boys. Get the boys out too. But yeah, it was, even though the job sucked and it's like not a super sexy job, like especially like as an EOD tech. Yeah. But it was cool to be like part of that. Yeah. Like part of time in history in the United States. Like, that's kind of cool.
How was when you went up to New York? You know, I didn't go up to New York at all during that time frame. Mm-hmm. Was it weird? Were you up there? Sorry, words, they're hard. Prior to COVID, have you gone to New York at all?
So when I first got to the Mobile unit, right before I went on deployment, I did the month-long Trump Tower VIPSA.
Nice.
So I was in New York for a month.
Nice.
So going back, and I was like, but I wasn't in Manhattan.
Okay.
We were in Queens.
Gotcha.
So it was across the river there, but still kind of the same vibe. Yeah. A little bit different because you're not in the city and there's not just trash everywhere. Yeah. And rats that are huge. But I had been there, so I know what it's like, and actually got like, we had certain dates. Like you could, after about 2 weeks, we went to like, okay, we got to do something here. We can't just focus on like every day. We got to have like blue and gold teams here. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we'd get like one day off every once in a while. And I was like, my buddy lives in Brooklyn. I'm going to take the train. I'm going to go see him. We're going to go to Manhattan. We're going to eat good food because the food sucked there at lunch. Yeah. I'm going to come back, and then I'll come back to work the next day. And so like got to go back to Manhattan though, and like go back to all the old stomping grounds. But so that was cool because I already knew how to get around. People were like, how do you navigate the subway? And I'm like, come on, Poppy's got you.
Come here, young Padawan.
Yeah, just follow me. Get this card, put this amount of money on there. Stay close to me.
Yeah.
Do not get left behind on the train. You will get lost.
Was it different than before? Like, was there a lot less people or how?
Yes. Yeah. I went to Times Square, and I remember because it was 2 on, 2 off for the Trump Tower VIPSA, and that was 2018. So before COVID was even a thing, right? And I remember going through Times Square, struggling to get across the street because as soon as the walk sign came on, shoulder to shoulder, just like you see in the movies. Yeah. I was going to the Levi store because I didn't have any jeans. And it was January and I was cold as shit. And I went to get some jeans so I could wear my boots. And I went and I was just struggling. It took me like an hour just to go less than 2 miles walking. Yeah. And then I went back to Times Square with my buddy during COVID. Maybe I saw 5 people.
Really?
Ghost town.
That's crazy.
Absolute ghost town. And I talked to my buddy, and I was like, bro, is this like the first time you've been under your apartment? He's like, the second time. I know people who have been in their apartment and ordered DoorDash, haven't left their apartment in about 2 months.
That's crazy.
I'm like, oh my God, that is insane. And this is New York, so there's like thousands of people per building that are doing that. I'm like, oh my God. Like, wow, that's crazy.
That'd be weird to be there and see that, just knowing what New York normally is.
Ghost town.
It's like that's movie style right there. Like
I thought I was in I Am Legend. Yeah. Like straight up. Yeah. Like something's gonna come around the corner, and I was like, I need my knife on me. Like, right. This is crazy.
But you can't because you're in New York.
Exactly. I did not have my knife on me. Wait.
Right. Oh, nice. So you talked a little bit about like before some of the people that kind of influenced your careers and like or your career and just mindset, thought process, all that, without necessarily naming names if they're active or anything. But you have a few people that kind of like stick out to you that, and so I'll ask kind of a two-part. Do you have a few people that kind of stick out to you that, you know, it already sounds like on your first team, especially that like there are people that, you know, influenced you from day one and you know, that stuck with you. But then now that you're out, whether you still like call them, talk to them, ask for advice, or just the stuff that they gave you, is that still applying now that you're out and moving on to different things? So kind of a 2 or a 6-parter. I can't remember how many questions I asked there.
So did the lessons learned along the way help me with the job, and then transitioning out, did it also help you like with life?
Yeah.
It's like absolutely both. Yes. And even more, like you just keep learning. Like you should never get to a point to where you're like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You should always be learning. You know what I mean? You should always just be a sponge. Because even at Matsu, like getting to like that senior enlisted, and my chief and my master diver, it's like just learning life lessons from them, not only with diving, but how to navigate through life with kids, or how to navigate through life with like your wife and your significant other, and how to improve your relationships, so on and so forth. It's like learning all of those lessons, taking it all in as a sponge, and then applying it even when you get out. Like, yes, I've absolutely become a better person because of all these people. They have all contributed positively to my life, which
That's awesome.
is insane. Like, you know, like just being a part of that community, and you're like, this is who I was coming in, and this is somehow, I don't know how, but this successful individual that came out on the other side is due to all these different people along the way.
Yeah.
So can't do it by yourself. Yeah, absolutely. I'll call people by their nicknames.
Okay.
And not their real names. So Daddy was definitely pivotal in just seeing how he would go through work, and I learned a lot through him with not just the job, like definitely the job and how to carry yourself as an EOD tech, but even like work-life balance, and how it's like, I don't know how you do all this. Yeah. It's like you're crushing it though. Like absolutely, like trying to lead by your example. And then my team leader, my first team leader, Big Chungus. Love you, buddy. Lifelong friend. I think I talked to you yesterday. I call you at least twice, 2 or 3 times a week. I can honestly say, without Big Chungus, I don't know where I would be today or what I would do if I didn't know him.
Yeah.
Because learning, he was both a role model and an anti-role model all at the same time. Like, wow, that was really good. And then like, don't ever do that again. Oh, but going through those experiences, you're like, we have both been extremely successful together and have just absolutely shit the bed together.
Yeah.
Like I have seen you at your lows, not only, and then like through training, like, yeah, we've done both, but then like through life, it's like getting arguments with your wife, things not going so hot in life, breakups with your girlfriend, not in a good spot mentally, like help this guy out. I have been through highs and lows with myself, highs and lows with him. We have weathered the storm. We were a married couple at this point. Big Chungus married too. No. But that man is, definitely couldn't have done it without him, for sure. Because you need that one, like, really good friend. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like, I have to call him and tell him what just happened, because I know he's going to give me some advice, and he's not going to give me some, like, bullshit, blow smoke up my ass. Right. He's going to tell me how it is. And if it's bad, he's going to let me know.
Yeah.
Like, I need that guy. And he's that guy. And then swapping over to diving, both. Like, same thing. What do I call him? So, Mac and Rufio. Rufio's pretty well known, so you'll know exactly who Rufio is if you know Rufio. As well as So this is so racist. The Jew is how I can. That's how people will know him. His nickname. We don't actually call him. That's not his nickname. But his actual nickname is part of his name, so I can't say that.
Okay, check.
But all three of those dudes, and then all my younger guys as well. But learned a lot from them. How to carry yourself on the dive side. It's like, listen, like I know you want to go lug that chain around right now and help the boys out, but that's not your job anymore. Like, just come back a little bit. And I was like, okay, learning, got it. But then I couldn't help myself. I just jumped right in there. Like, all right, I'm going to lug some chain around right now. But yeah, learning how to progress in your career from your senior enlisted. All you JOs out there, if you don't listen to your senior enlisted because you think you know everything, you are going to fail. You are absolutely going to fail. And it's not like, I don't say that as like, oh, us officers don't know what we're doing. We do. Like, we're young, but we're not an idiot.
Right.
Like, we have common sense. We're smart. And we know what the left and right lateral limits are. But sometimes you need to be taught how far to stretch those.
Yeah.
And no better way to talk to the people who have stretched those themselves and gotten in trouble already. Yeah. Because I guarantee that's exactly what has happened. Yeah. They know, like, oh, if you do that, you're going to be Captain Smash. Like, yeah. Trust me, I know. And it's like, cool, we're not going to go there.
See the red stripes?
It's like, sick, not going to do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
But also, we'll do this instead. And they're like, oh, we will do that. Yeah. One instance of that, and the JO's coming in for the win. So Matsu does this thing called de-beaching. I don't know if you've ever known of that or what it is.
Yeah.
So they have to do this like 2 or 3 times during the training cycle. You should only do it once, if that. I digress on, we're not going to get on the train, man. But it should be changed anyways. So going through, it's this giant hydraulic gripper, and there's 2 grippers. And it has this giant wire that's attached to an anchor. So you have illustration, shall we? Water line. Let's make sure this is all tight here. Water line. Water this way. This is sand. Boat. Beached whale. Got it. Get this boat off this beach. Okay? Now we're going to have all this like inch thick cable. We're going to drop an anchor on one end of the cable. It's going to be your pulling force. You're going to set that anchor. We're going to put all the other rest of the line on this boat in this hydraulic puller that is operated by like a hydraulic pressure unit. Mm-hmm. And then that's obviously has like a diesel engine, very loud. And then this thing in itself is also very loud. And there's a gripper that's going to grip and pull the chain, pull on that rope to get this thing offshore. So you're pulling against that anchor to get this ship unstuck off of whatever it is.
Yeah.
It is very loud. And it needs to be very precise, because if you got to manipulate this machine sometimes, because you got to take like chain out, put new chain, or take wire rope out, put new wire rope in, and your hands are in there. This thing pulls at over 100,000 pounds.
So it could hurt you.
Very much so. So if anything is off, like safety violation, like somebody's losing an arm, finger, like whatever, limb, like not good.
Yeah.
And so, like, not my wheelhouse, right? Like, listen, like, this is Salvage. Like, you guys got this. Like, I'll stand back and, like, make sure nobody's going to be in the bite or whatever, safety. Like, I'll make sure we're doing our thing and make sure we don't get in trouble, follow my train man. Like, that's my job. Like, instruction, got it. Documentation, admin. And they did their thing. It's like, I'll just let them go. And if there was a problem, they'd solve it. I'm not going to get in their Wheaties. They're the enlisted. There's the chief. He's responsible with the deck plate leadership. Go do your thing. Do your deck plate leadership. But I couldn't help myself. Day one, we get on that site, they fire up that generator. I can't even hear the dude next to me, and they're like, bring in here, move out there. And I'm like, I'll stop. You go get all the peltors and radios and come back here. And I'm like, we're about to fix this right now, because you have to ear pro in. And so now not only do you have ear pro in to keep from the sound, but you also have to be able to hear this dude screaming at you from 15 feet away. It's like, I can't hear a word you're saying, but I know that if I screw up, I'm going to lose an arm.
Yeah.
This is terrific. Like, I'll stop. Go get all the radio equipment and the peltors. I know you'll have never used these in your entire life, but you're about to learn. So I just went through it. I set up every single radio, and I plugged all the pelt doors in. I'm like, here's one for you. Here's one for you. All the major assignments. And I was like everything's on, loud as shit. I'm looking at the dude. I'm like, dude, can you hear me now? And he's like, dude, I hate you. Yes. From here on out, all the teams use radios.
That's awesome.
I'm like, this is how you should do it from here on out. He's like, yes. I hate you so much right now.
My name is now written down in history.
Oh, it's like, so we do know a little bit of what we're doing when we do have a recommendation. So please listen to us.
Yeah. No, that's actually a great point that like, especially on the enlisted side, sometimes we get so used to doing tradition, which is just code word for what we've been doing the way people have told us to do it for centuries, or
grind it out.
Yeah. And then sometimes, I would say not even sometimes, most of the time, having somebody just step back and watch, you can see very quickly if you have any kind of knowledge about anything that's going on. We could probably improve upon this.
We're going to do this from now on.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
So, yeah, one little nugget of knowledge I've passed on to the diving community.
I like it.
Forever.
They're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Nice, dude. Something that I thought about as you were talking about this. So, coming in, do you have many officer friends that are in other communities other than EOD?
Yeah, absolutely.
How, as you talk to them, how different is the relationship that they have with their enlisted vice what you have with your enlisted?
Very, very, very different. And when I say that is, so Auburn University, when I graduated from RTC, Naval ROTC at Auburn University is known for commissioning nukes because we have a really good COSAM, College of Science and Mathematics, and we also have a pilot program. So they're known for commissioning nukes and pilots. So I have a lot of friends that are pilots and NFOs. Not sure if you know the difference. So
I've got a funny story about that after you're done.
No big deal. Front seat, back seat.
Yeah, it deals with that.
And so it's funny, it's all the pilot jokes. I get them now.
Yeah.
So my buddies are pilots. So I learned a lot of helicopter pilots. And it's funny because like they have their flight crew right in the back. They do not converse with them at all. At all. They have different people every single time.
Yeah.
And like they don't have like a team. So every time they go at somebody different, I'm like, I don't even do that.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Right.
Like, you should just have your one team and like just go throughout. It's like, oh, there's too many of them. Too many of them. There's too many of you guys. Like too many pilots. Get out of here. Yeah. And so they have zero relationship with their buddies. And I figured this out when, so it's brand new, like just when I got to Monument 6, wife wasn't there yet. So I was like, I went out just party with the boys, right? Mm-hmm. And I went out with the boys and some of the junior enlisted guys that I've been with school. So I've already known them for 2 years. And they're like, oh yeah, like this is EOD 3, EOD 4, or EOD 4, EOD 3, EOD 2, so on and so forth. Oh, what's in here?
Shows how much you actually know about us.
Jeez. JOs. Can't live with them, can't live without them. Jeez. So I get out there and I was like, yeah, my buddy's coming out. He's a helicopter pilot. Oh, cool. And so I get out there and my buddy's like, you know that guy's enlisted, right?
Yes.
I'm like, yes, I do. He's such a scum. Go talk to him. And so I'm like, oh my God. He doesn't he has no idea. They do not converse, hang out. What is the word I'm looking for?
Associate?
No, associate. What is it? Jesus. Okay. Anyway, so they do not associate themselves with their lower enlisted at all. Fraternize.
Navy term. I love it.
They do not fraternize with the lower enlisted or enlisted at all. Scum.
Because we are cunning and cannot be trusted.
The enlisted man is sly and cunning, deems constant watching, and cannot be trusted. I did not have that memorized on a Blue Jacket manual. It is written, so it is written.
It makes me happy.
But yeah, they don't associate with themselves at all.
Yeah.
And anybody else. I'm like, that is crazy. I've been with these guys for 2 years. I have literally bled, sweat, and just cried with these guys for 2 years. Like, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you have no idea what that dude's name is. I've seen him before. He's been in a helicopter. He's at your command, but you have no idea who that person is. Never seen him in my life. Okay. All right.
I can't even see the enlisted man. They're so dirty. No, I think it's interesting how our community, like, really all the like special operations, special programs is like that. And I think I don't think you can get to a level that we're at without that, though. You know, without being this close, because it's not. You can't just come in, like, your job. Well, the job of an officer is, there is some specificity to it, right? It's different in a portion than the enlisted job, you know. But that's only a portion. You still have, not only do you have a responsibility that, like you said, you know, closest EOD tech. They didn't say closest low enlisted scum, get out of the vehicle and go. Closest EOD tech. So you have to know how to do the job.
Absolutely.
And then when you're leading EOD techs and doing other portions of the job that maybe take a whole team, maybe you're not necessarily going downrange, but knowing exactly what they're doing downrange, you have to be inside them to know this. Okay, too far. Got it. Check. Pull back. Reins are back. But no, I think there's I like that aspect of it because, well, yes, there at certain times in our job there has to be a separation between, you know, the ranks and whatnot.
I'll tell you where that separation comes in later.
Oh, I like that. You know, I would say the majority of our time, and we do really good, I think, overall, of maybe, I won't cite any times that I can specifically think of, we could have a better separation when we should, but we don't need that, I think. Like, we do a good job 99% of the time of, even when we're quote unquote supposed to be a little more separated, being close and not having, I haven't seen very much where, you know, my E5 is telling my OIC to, you know, pound sand because of X, Y, and Z. You know, we don't have that. You still know where your place is, even though I know your first name, which is weird. I didn't even know officers had first names.
You're right. It's just our name tapes. That's all you should know.
But no, I that's one of my. I can actually specifically think of a time in school where several of the officers, we were out and several of the officers came out, and when I was in school, there was a portion where it was they were really trying to push the separation, and they came out, and we were like, oh no, what's happening right now? There's 3 of them. They're coming towards us. I thought we were supposed to be free right now. It's liberty. And basically they were like, yeah, that's not how we're going to roll. Like, how are you guys doing? We know you, but we're reintroducing ourselves because we're symbolically showing that, like, we're all doing the same thing. Yes, we
are human.
Yeah. And yeah, it was good. The NFO thing, also in school. So was out right near the end of EOD school. Actually, we were doing the Hilo dunk tank. So we were at Pensacola, and because we were at Pensacola, one of the O's in my class, his buddy was an NFO. Oh, that's important. So we were out, and he was like, I'd talked to him a few times, right? And so we go from one place to another. I can't remember, and he's coming over, and, you know, my friend officer is sitting down, and so because I knew he was an NFO, I took another stool and I pulled it right behind my friend, and I said, "Here, sir, I think you'll feel more comfortable." Oh, it was hilarious. I don't know how I didn't get beat up.
The enlisted man is sly and cunning.
Good times. But,
jeez. That's a good joke. Yeah. Nailed it. First time. First try.
Right.
But let's see. So that separation, they were pushing that in our class/classes as well.
Yeah.
I know people who went the route of, bringing it back, the JOs of the class all got called into, when we were on the West Coast after EOD school, all pinned, and got called into the skipper's office. I can't remember the skipper's name. That's how unimportant it was, this meeting. But he gets called in. I'm out, so I can say things like that. Right. And so, unimportant. We got called in the office, and we were there for about an hour and a half. I couldn't tell if we were getting our asses chewed or like experience and knowledge bestowed upon us. The only phrase I remembered from that hour and a half long ass chewing essentially was, the enlisted people are not your friend. And I took that, I heard that, and I just went, and I instantly shut off and just like stared at the corner the rest of the time.
Yeah.
He probably hated me. I don't care. And so I was like, absolutely not. How can you run a team like that in this community?
Yeah.
When I need you not only to know me forwards and backwards, but with that, know my next move and trust me with your life. How can you trust someone with your life and their life at the same time and only know their name from their name tape?
Right.
That's not how that works.
Yeah.
So I did not run my team that way. And toot my own horn here, I was successful. I like to think so, at least. That's what people told me.
Yeah.
So the outside in, I thought I was successful. So I was successful. Looking at other people who are the enlisted person is not your friend, were not successful.
Yeah.
The E5 Mafia, it's real. E5 Mafia rose up against them, and that line you're talking about was very large. So large and so far that there was zero communication between the OIC and the E5s and below, which instantly, as everybody knows in this community, will be unsuccessful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's not to say that there's not a rank structure. 100% is, right?
Absolutely.
And there's times where that rank structure comes into play. However,
where that line is, I'll tell you the story too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that line. So you're talking about, where is that line? And the line exists. Like, oh, it absolutely exists. It's like, okay, so we're doing a training up and something happens. Either there's multiple examples of this. Hey, we lost something, whether we truly lost it, it got damaged, so we lost it, or it fell into the water, so we lost it. It's broke, whatever the instance is. This is where the divide comes in. It's like, all of your enlisted guys instantly are like, I didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the officer's like, I got this one, boys. This is my job. I have to do this. I take the piece of equipment, and then I have to go talk to the man.
Yeah.
Nobody else has to do that. This is where the
Right.
divide is. I go do that. And I willingly go do that. Why? That's my job.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go back to Inglourious Bastards. Like, I've been chewed out. I'll get chewed out. You know what I mean? I'll take that. I won't get fired, though. Nah, I won't get fired. I'll get chewed out, but I won't get fired. You're not going to get fired. Don't worry. You're going to get chewed out. But who cares? Just take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, cool. I got yelled at for 10 minutes. We're going to go cry in the corner now? Mama didn't raise no bitch. Don't do that. Yeah. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I got yelled at for 5 minutes. I maybe had to fill out a DD 214 or 214. Yeah, DD 214, maybe a DD 200. But it's like, okay, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, we're going to have to pay for this. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not going to have to pay for that. This thing happens all the time. Those things break.
Yeah.
This thing, batteries get corroded and it doesn't work anymore. It's like, why are you, I've seen OICs over there like shitting a brick. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Just go do this. it doesn't matter, dude. Like, yes, you're ultimately responsible, but that's fine. Like, just go do it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, like, yep, take it on the chin, go up there for the boys, take everything, all the ass chewings, so your boys don't have to. And if you're really good at it, you will go, you'll take all these ass chewings, you'll do all this. Like, behind the scenes, it's like you're the worst officer in the world. But to your boys, like, nothing's ever happened.
Yeah.
They have no idea it even happened. Why? Because you shielded them and controlled that in a very efficient manner to where your team was still effective and able to operate on their own. And you did your job by shielding them from that.
Yeah.
So they could continue to kick ass and do what they need to do. That's your job.
Yeah. One of the things I've tried to do and push on my teams down, and it started when I was, it wasn't on my first team. I was resistant to it on my first team. I think on my second team is where it was like explained to me. From there on, I took it and went with it. So, yeah, still an E5, I still hated doing it, but it was explained to me, and I bought into it because I had a really good officer. He was solid dude. Still is. I think he's out. Actually, I know he's out. But he's still a solid dude, yeah. But it was explained to me that part of, like, where my side of that line is right, so that if we break something, lose something, and especially if we break or lose something when we shouldn't have break or lost it, right?
Usually the case.
Yeah. To give him the best... the best chance of survival when he has to go pay the man. When he wants that monthly inventory, I need to just do it, right? Like, yeah, I still hate doing it. I still, that's my job to complain, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, I don't know where it is, but somewhere in the E5 code, it says, like, complain about everything no matter what, right? Even the things you want to do. If somebody tells you to do them, you should complain about it because you didn't decide to do it. Someone told you, even though you want to. Doesn't matter, right? If someone tells me I have to go do a free fall jump, I'm going to complain. If I sign up for the free fall jump of my own volition, then it's awesome. But
why did I jump out of this plane? It smells like diesel fuel.
Exactly.
Like, you're still doing a free fall jump. Like, oh my God, get in the fucking plane.
Yeah. But, it explained to me and something that I've taken and tried to pass on, that, like, on the team is signed out to the officer. Like, you're responsible for literally everything on that team. It's your name that's on all the stuff,
Fact.
right?
You sign that document in front of the skipper.
Exactly. Fact. Exactly. And so when accountability stuff comes up, if the requirement's once a month, but he wants it twice a month, do it twice a month. Because I know me. I know me when I was back then. I'm a little better now, not way better, but a little better. But I know me when I was back then, and I know my dudes now, right? Like, you're gonna totally 100% know where everything is at all times, and not run over something, or not back a mirror into something, or you like that one?
That actually happened on deployment.
But, like, those things are gonna happen, and when they go pay the man, and they're standing there and they're like, all right, every monthly inventory has been correct every time on this team. Not necessarily the case with all the teams. Everything that you're responsible for, like, T's are dotted, I's are crossed, maybe backwards, but we get the point.
100%.
So what happened here? And then you've got your explanation, because you went, you didn't just run straight into the office and be like, I lost something.
It's like, okay.
And you're like, all right, I lost it. Here's what we did to try and find it. We can't find it. We had enough time. We had enough bottles. We went down, dove again to try and find it. It wasn't there. We took out all the gear, literally did a full inventory. The guys, here's the last time we had that. We know where it was. We took, all of that. And then, okay, here, yep, bottom line, that DD 200. I'll do the same thing. Don't let it happen again. Moving on with our life.
100%.
But if the enlisted man is not doing that and they're not filling out like, oh yeah, we totally did the inventory. And then it turns out that, where is that M9? Yeah, it was there last month. My guys went and did it. Mm-hmm. So the last time we really saw it was like 6 months ago. So, yeah, it doesn't work out so well. So it definitely goes back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think sometimes we can get into the like, well, the officer needs to always be there for his men. Like, I mean, it goes both ways.
100%.
It definitely goes both ways.
Absolutely does. There is give and take there.
Yeah. I've been lucky. I've had really good officers all the way through it too. That like when I was a little guy.
Back when I was a little lad.
Yeah. I didn't know necessarily when, I knew what I thought was a good officer when I was E4, E5. But now I really know, and like I can back that up with it. Turns out that like, yeah, back when I was E5, the guy that I was cool with was the good officer, right? Yeah. But now I'm like looking back on it, and I actually, it's funny. I went through emails from my O on the second team, mm-hmm. and I found emails from, oh man, what was that? 2011, and literally like the emails back and forth about gear when we were on deployment and everything. Like man, he was such a good dude. Like
he really looked out for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but nah, man,
dang,
it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Well, what are you up to now?
So I have a few job offers coming up.
Nice.
But the transition is daunting.
Yeah.
And I really got the taste of the civilian world right off the bat. Had a job lined up before, like probably 4 months before I even got out. Signed a job offer and everything, like good to go. Gonna start, got out February 28th, gonna start March 6th. Like January, I get a phone call and they're like, hey man, we lost a contract. We're looking to expand. Not gonna happen anymore. Can't hire you. Your position doesn't exist anymore. Like, wow. Haven't even started yet. That's rough. Jesus. Cool. So now a timeline from January to, okay, now I have 2 months to find a job. This is sick. But luckily, before then, I didn't put all my eggs in one basket.
Nice.
And had a little escape plan there. So I got my insurance agent license. So I'm a licensed life insurance agent. Ooh. And just kind of like I was doing it for a side gig, right? And it has like a cool, like, not bad pay, not going to lie. So it's like, okay, I have something to fall back on. I didn't set myself up for disaster. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I have that. I have my disability coming in. So it's like, I will be okay, but I still need to find a job. Why? Because if I stay in my house, as you know from this podcast now, I will go insane. I have to have a job to do something that preferably goes outside. Yeah. Every once in a while. But a few irons are in the fire. Probably very, very soon, as in next week soon, I should have a job.
Nice. That's awesome, man.
A good job.
Staying around here, or?
So it should be remote.
Oh.
So I will be staying around here, anywhere. But the job just so happens to be here as well.
Nice.
If I need to travel, don't travel very far.
That's cool.
So it will be good. I don't want to spoil it. So when it actually does come to fruition, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. No, I like it, man. That's awesome.
EOD is very superstitious.
Yeah. That's true.
I have a question for you on that note. No. So I can probably say this with confidence. Every single EOD tech, besides maybe Big Chungus, has those certain items that are their good luck charms. Like every single time I go on deployment, like I have this thing in my kit, or I have this thing in my backpack, or in my left pocket, slightly forward on the right. Why? Because that's where it was when I took my DMP's test and I passed. Yeah, yeah, right. So, did you have? I have two things specifically that I carried with me everywhere. Even on deployment, they're always in my kit. I had those two things. What things, if any, did you have?
So, I don't have anything that I consciously like I take with me, but the way I pack up my kit and gear is always the same. It's
if you don't do that, are you just super anxious?
so for me it's actually because like for me it's because I know that if I put everything that way, I don't even have to look at it. Like I know I can just pick that up. I could get a call right now and I know I can go grab that one Pelican and I can go wherever. I may not be, if it's a cold climate, I may not be super warm, but you know, so I
Skinny guy know how to stay warm.
yeah, I would need some ancillary gear for that, but I know that I could take that and I can go do anything that I'm asked to do. And, you know, yeah, maybe I'll call back and say, hey, can you please send me some like a jacket or, you know, and there's like, there's some stuff that'll keep me a little bit warm. Right. But if it starts snowing, I'm gonna shiver.
I'm gonna be a little under the weather.
Yeah. And then I always keep, so in that, I guess the things I don't need, and I don't take them with me because it'd be really weird, but I have patches from pretty much every foreign unit that I've worked with, and literally they just sit in there. I was actually thinking I need to get, and I don't know if I could do it until I like am fully done because it would probably just bother me. Because I like when you go somewhere, and especially if you're somewhere for longer than you were expecting, sometimes I'll just like sit in, you know, wherever crappy place we're at and I'll just sit there when there's nothing to do and I'll just like start looking through the flags, you know, in the patches and be like, oh, I remember when I got this one from Korea and I remember the story with that, which I can't share right now because kind of messed up, but know your history. And, you know, like I look at the Australia ones and like all the different things and like just sit there and, you know, maybe I don't have anything that I necessarily take on my person with me, but it's my actual like kit box it's the same always.
Always, never awry.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah. I'm very though, like, and I think a lot of us are like this. I get something the way I like it and I keep it that way and I keep it in that place, in that position. And then probably also like my brain don't work totally right anymore. So if I were to put it somewhere else, it would take me 10 years to find it, even if it was literally like the next pocket over.
Like, oh, yeah, that's where it was the whole time.
Yeah. So maybe that's a little bit of it. I don't know.
Superstition.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming out and talking with me, dude. This is fun.
It's fantastic. Thank you for having me. It's definitely been a great time being back with the boys. No big deal. You were at my first command. You're still there. And you were definitely part of those people to guide me along the way. You're one of those senior listed when I first got there. And I was like, I have no Jerron. I think that's your name. Yes. How do I do this? Specifically DTS. This is Chinese. You're like, don't worry, I got you. So thank you for guiding me along the way.
Absolutely.
When I needed it, because I needed it.
Absolutely, man. That's probably the most, the part of the job that I like the most is just helping other EOD techs with whatever it is. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it's something as fun as DTS or setting up a kit or drills, whatever. I really enjoy the teaching side. Maybe that's, you know, me getting more broke as the days go on, but so doing it isn't, I enjoy doing the things, you know. That night I'm maybe not as having as much fun, but
I'm gonna wake up and hurt tomorrow.
But no, I really enjoy that. I'm glad you're sticking around because you're the original job. That was supposed to take you away from here, wasn't it?
It was going to be I would stay where I was going to stay at. In Suffolk, we'd still be there.
Yeah.
But I would have to travel and commute like an hour and a half.
Okay. Yeah.
One way.
Yeah.
It was in like Williamsburg, and I'm like,
That's right.
This is going to be horrible.
That's right.
So, blessing in disguise. Who knows?
Yeah, it'd be fun as one of the things I think would be fun to do on this is as, you know, people get out, get like a bunch of people that were on a team together and just be like, all right, so go.
I hope you have 12 hours for this.
Well, see, that would be perfect because in that 12 hours, I would have to edit out probably 11 and a half. So be like, okay, that story we can't share. That one, I mean, I guess.
If you had, I'll say my platoon name. If you had all of 611 in here, this would be a riot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it would be hilarious to get a bunch of dudes together that were all on the same team and just talk about times, dude.
It would be great.
That'd be fun.
Absolutely.
We'll
a lot of ASOC stories, the Big Chunkus.
Yeah.
100%. And Blue Squad. That was what we dubbed ourselves.
I like it. I like it, man. Well, I appreciate you coming out, man.
Thank you for having me. This was great. And yeah, I'd be glad to come back anytime.
Excellent. Thank you for listening to the Echo Oscar Delta podcast, where we talk to Navy EOD techs and hear the stories that they want to share.